members. She's excited to learn and grow in hopes of becoming a better speaker and living without fear. Giving her icebreaker, running a marathon to find your why. Please give a warm welcome to Toastmaster Paola Soriano.
Good morning, Toastmasters.
Good morning.
Shin splints, blood blisters, broken toenails, chafing in places that I didn't even know was possible. Close calls, barely making it to the bathroom. And if you're a runner, you know what I'm talking about. That's all that you can expect if you sign up to run a marathon. With all those side effects, why would any sane person choose to do this? This past Sunday, and that's what I did this past Sunday, I ran my first marathon on a quest to find out why people do this, and perhaps more as a result of an existential crisis, which ultimately led me here to Toastmasters. The day itself was a blur. Wake-up call at 2:30 a.m., forcing myself to eat something, a woman tripping and face planting at mile 2, a sea of faces cheering us on. I was lost in a festive crowd of more than 20,000 runners, and I felt like I was outside my body watching it all. The only thought running through my head during this time was just finish. Your training has led you up to this moment. Take it all in and enjoy it. I was finally in the zone, experiencing the runner's high that I had only heard about and never really fully experienced during my training runs. They say a run doesn't start until you forget you are running, and that's what happened this past Sunday. A stark contrast to what I had felt when I had first started this journey. The marathon may have been one day, but in reality it was 365 days in the making from when I first decided to run. The pandemic was supposedly over, things were on their way up, but I was feeling more alone than ever. I felt like I was losing control of my life. Burnt out, tired, and working crazy hours, I was bitter, angry, and I saw someone I didn't recognize. The worst part was I felt like I couldn't make a change. I was trapped in something of my own making excuses on how things were good enough and I should be happy and just be glad that I made it through the pandemic. Anxiety and fear were taking over. And if I had stopped to think about it, anxiety up to this point in my life had been running the full show. The fear of failure was suffocating, trapping me into what I thought was enough. I didn't want to make a change because what if it didn't work out? I was also afraid of who I would find outside of my comfort zone. Growing up in our family, there was a lot of pressure to make the sacrifices our parents made worthwhile. They had left everything they knew behind because of the war in El Salvador to give us a better life in Canada. There was no room for failure, and letting them down was not an option. This also meant there was no room for expressing our emotional needs and any ideas that went against their belief system. This led to more fear and more obsession with work in hopes of finding my worth and purpose through success. It also meant it was just easier to keep the peace and stay quiet. It wasn't worth being your true self for the risk of starting more arguments. Who would I find outside of my comfort zone? Who was she, and did I even like her? So how did all this lead to running a marathon? When work could no longer fill my sense of purpose, I felt completely lost. The pandemic threw me out of cruise control. I could see there was more to life than working all the time and living in fear of failure. I also wanted to make sure I had learned something from this pandemic. I couldn't go back to the way things were, and I knew I needed a change, but I didn't know how to make it. When the opportunity came to run the Disney Marathon, I knew I had to seize it. I knew that the next year would go by whether or not I took action. So I decided to act. It would force myself to find balance and give me a reason to focus on things other than just work. I also hoped it would push me to make other changes through my personal life and find a different job that was more aligned with the type of life I wanted to live. And I'm happy to say that I did find another job, and I'm really happy with how that turned out. However, after the initial excitement of signing up for the marathon and the idea of getting a really cool medal wore off, the reality of running 26.2 miles soon hit. Could I actually do it? What if I failed? I had only run 5K before. What do you mean I have to run 4 times a week, and some longs are more than 3 hours long in one given day? After those initial runs, my body was screaming at me. I was barely able to walk, and my legs felt like jello. I should just give up. Was it really worth all this effort? Did I want to change that bad? It's just so much easier to stay where you are. When running those many miles, you have to be very clear on why you are doing it. When your body wants to fail, your mind will take you to that finish line. More often than not, in running, like in life, our mindset will determine how far we go. Our minds tell us to quit before our bodies. Focusing on your why will help you to stay motivated on those days of doubt and help you push through the negative thoughts. So what were my whys? I knew I wanted to take control of my life, be in the driver's seat and not be a spectator. I wanted to slow down and see the magic again, be fully present. I wanted to break free of all the fear that was holding me back and controlling my life. If I failed, well, at least I gave it my all. I wanted to love my life and myself. I was trying to find worth in everything except within myself. And ultimately, I did it for her. She was fearless, she was confident, and full of magic before the expectations of others set in and created more doubt about her self-worth. The worst part of feeling lost before all of this is that I couldn't express how I was feeling. I couldn't find the confidence to speak up for fear of failure and what people thought. It's taken me over 6 months to give my first icebreaker. What if I fail? I can't do this. I'm an introvert. I hate talking. What if I offend someone? Why is everybody looking at me? I'm going to be anxious for the rest of the day. I'm going to have, what if it's not perfect? It's not worth doing. I should just give up. But if there is anything this marathon has taught me, is that stop, breathe, slow down, metaphorically, of course, take it all in and enjoy the journey as much as the destination. Growth comes when you get out of your comfort zone, and most things are not as catastrophic as we think. Thank you.